fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The scent of pine resin and something darker, iron, yes, and undeniably blood, clung to his weathered leather jacket that first night. It wasn't a harsh, unpleasant smell, but a primal one, like the heart of the forest after a hunt. I remember how the rain lashed against the leaded windows of the Black Griffin Tavern, each droplet exploding against the glass like tiny liquid stars, momentarily fracturing the dim light within. My fingers trembled around the warm pewter goblet of mulled wine, the spices, cinnamon, clove, a hint of star anise sharp on my tongue, a desperate attempt to ground myself. I'd rehearsed my proposal to the Ironwood Consortium for what felt like 100 lifetimes, each iteration polished and refined, yet still feeling woefully inadequate. The fire in the hearth spat and crackled, sending embers dancing up the chimney, casting long, skeletal shadows that danced across the sawdust-strewn floor like restless spirits. It felt ominous. I was there to broker a deal, a desperate last-ditch attempt to save my family's dwindling estate, Blackwood, from the vultures, the neighboring lords circling our lands, eager to pick at the bones of our misfortune. He entered like winter's first frost, sudden, beautiful, and utterly dangerous. Reese. The name tasted like ash on my tongue even before he spoke. A sellsword, they said, though sellsword felt too crude a word for a man who moved with such contained power. His eyes were the color of thunderheads gathering over the moors, a swirling, unpredictable gray that seemed to absorb the light around him. And his smile, it wasn't a welcoming gesture, not at all. It was a promise of both salvation and ruin, a dangerous bargain offered with a careless grace. 22 years I'd spent navigating the gilded cages of courtly politics, mastering the art of diplomacy and deception, and he shattered every carefully constructed defense with a single, assessing glance. His gaze didn't linger on the pearls at my throat, a family heirloom meant to signify our status, or the crest ring on my finger, bearing the Blackwood raven. No, those storm-cloud eyes saw straight through the silks and courtesies, the practiced smiles and polite nods, to the raw, trembling thing beneath. He saw the fear, the desperation, the weight of Blackwood's future pressing down on my shoulders. "You look lost, little bird." His voice was a low rasp, roughened by wind and weather and something else I couldn't quite place. It sent twin shivers down my spine, one of fear, a primal instinct screaming at me to flee, and one of something far more dangerous, a thrilling awareness that I hadn't felt in years. The heat of his gaze felt like a brand through my woolen cloak, searing my skin, stealing my breath. I should have recited the lineage of the 12 noble houses, a carefully prepared speech designed to impress. I should have reminded him of my betrothal to Lord Thaddeus of the Western Reach, a politically advantageous match my father had secured. Instead, I found myself leaning into that gaze, drawn to the darkness like a moth to a flame. It was foolish, reckless, and utterly irresistible. "Perhaps I'm exactly where I need to be," I heard myself say, the words tasting foreign on my tongue, a betrayal of everything I'd been taught. His laugh was dark honey laced with venom, a sound that sent another shiver through me. Dangerous words from a caged songbird. He moved closer, and I could feel the heat radiating from his body, the subtle scent of wood smoke and leather. I hadn't realized how cold I was until then. The weeks that followed were a blur of stolen moments and breathless risks. Reese helped me secure the Ironwood deal, though his methods would make my father's ghost weep. I still see him in the moonlight outside the consortium hall, the silver light glinting off the blade of his dagger as he persuaded their notoriously stubborn scribe to reconsider our terms. It wasn't a threat, not exactly. It was an understanding, a silent promise of consequences. "Contracts are like lovers," he'd murmured later, his lips brushing the shell of my ear as we hid in the stable loft, the scent of hay and horses filling the air. "Better when they're a little flexible." I learned him like a new language, the calluses on his sword hand from years of gripping steel, the way his left eyebrow arched a heartbeat before he'd say something devastating, the particular scent that clung to his skin after a fight, wood smoke and iron, and something uniquely Reese, something wild and untamed. Nights bled into days filled with whispered confessions against rain-slick cobblestones, shared meals in hidden taverns, and the intoxicating thrill of danger. "Tell me about the stars in your gilded cage," he'd demand, his teeth grazing my collarbone as we sheltered under the old oak near Miller's Creek, the branches above us rustling in the wind. "Do they shine as bright as these?" His lips always tasted of stolen whiskey and wildness, like drinking lightning from the sky itself. I'd never known fire could feel so much like coming home. But men like Reese aren't made for hearths and wedding vows. He wasn't built for the quiet comfort of a settled life. He warned me himself one twilight, his fingers tracing the jagged scar along his ribcage, a silent testament to battles fought and won. Storms don't apologize for the wreckage they leave, little bird. He looked at me then, his eyes filled with a sadness that mirrored my own, and I knew with a sickening certainty that this couldn't last. Now as I stand at my chamber window watching the first snow dust the estate, a fragile white blanket descending upon the familiar landscape, that phantom scent of pine returns, stronger than before. It's not just the scent of his jacket anymore, it's the scent of him woven into my memory, clinging to my skin. The letter in my hand bears the consortium seal, a formal acknowledgement of the deal we struck, but the words are pure Reese. Scrawled in his distinctive angular script, they send a chill down my spine. The storm's coming home to roost. My pulse thrums like a trapped thing against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat echoing in the silence of the room. Distant thunder growls across the moors, a low, ominous rumble that vibrates through the stone walls of Blackwood. Somewhere out there he's riding, a dark silhouette against the gathering storm, and this time I fear neither of us will escape unscathed. I clutch the letter tighter, the paper crinkling in my hand. I should be preparing for Lord Thaddeus's arrival, ensuring everything is perfect for our impending nuptials. But all I can think about is the storm and the man who embodies it.